I'm already feeling like I kind of want to DNF this.
Why did she go? Oh.
I'm loving it so much.
Stage. Thank you.
Oh my god!
So
Hey friends, how's it going and happy Valentine's Day! Because it's Valentine's Day, I thought it would be really fun to have a romance reading vlog for the month of February. So in this romance reading vlog, I'm going to be reading 4 books as well as a 5th book that's extended for my Patreon only. But in this video, I'm going to be reading The Fiance Farce by Alexandria Bellafleur. This is a book that I have been super excited to read because I am a huge fan of these other books from this author. And this is one that I'm excited about because if you couldn't tell from the cover, it's a female-female romance. One of the women, her family owns a bookstore, and then the other woman is actually a book cover model. And then the next book I'm going to be reading for this vlog is The Breakup Tour, which I'm so excited because this has been one of my most anticipated romance books of this year, primarily because we're following this girl named Riley Wynn in this book who is basically being described as kind of like Taylor Swift inspired. She's been recently going through this very public breakup, and this guy that she was with is claiming that he was like the one that inspired a lot of her biggest hits, and she's like, actually no bitch, you didn't. And so this is about how she's actually going to be reconnecting with this guy named Max, who was her college sweetheart, and he's actually the one that inspired a lot of her, you know, biggest hits. And it's about how he's going to be joining her on her tour, which is, you know, probably very comparable to the Eras tour. So I was just very excited about this one, you know, as a Swiftie. It felt like it was calling my name. In this vlog, I'll also be reading The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. And this is one that I was kind of nervous to read because, you know, it is about 2 former high school sweethearts who get a second chance, and there's also like a marriage of convenience happening in this book. I'm not the biggest fan of second chance romance books, but because I loved The Neighbor Favor by this author so much last year, I really wanted to give her new release a shot and see how it goes, and I really do love this cover. Like, I love the combination of the pink and the yellow, and I do love the marriage of convenience trope, so I did have a lot of hope for this one. In this video, I'll also be reading On the Same Page by Haley Cass. In this story, we're following these 2 girls named Riley and Gianna, and they are best friends, and these 2 have been best friends for 10 years. They were actually roommates in college back in the day. One of the girls works for the news in Boston, which I always talk about how much I love reading about newsroom jobs, so I was very excited for that. And then the other girl is actually an influencer. I actually just been seeing this book floating around the romance community lately. It seems like a lot of the romance girlies are really loving this one, and that's what made me intrigued to read it in the first place. And then for the Patreon extended version of this vlog, I'm also going to be reading Butcher and Blackbird by Brynn Weaver. And this book is getting kind of like all of the rage right now on the internet. I've just been seeing this book absolutely everywhere. People really seem to be loving this. And this one is a little bit outside of my comfort zone because it is a dark romance. It's actually a story about how these 2 people who are both serial killers start to fall for each other. It says it's friends to lovers, a dark romantic comedy full of murder, chaos, and sizzling chemistry. I don't know, I don't typically read dark romance books because I don't know if they're my thing or not. If you'd like to see me read this book additionally, then you can check out my Patreon extended portion of this vlog. Otherwise, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see me read these 4 books here, which I'm very excited about, and I will let you know that I had a 5-star in this video, but I also had an immediate DNF. There were some things in these books that really worked for me and some things that really didn't, you know, as usual. So let me send you back to about a week ago when I started on the first book. Okay, hi, I'm here with the first update of this vlog, and I'm sorry that it's not a good one because I have been reading The Fiance Farce. I started on this last night and I got all the way up to chapter 7, which puts me at about 96 pages in, and sadly, I'm already feeling like I kind of want to DNF this. Like, I'm just not really connecting with it the way that I wanted to. You know, it really sucks because this author, I would consider to be one of my favorite romance authors. You know, like, that's why I was so excited to check this one out. But so far with this one, I'm just finding it to be a little bit, like, cliche and frustrating, and it's feeling very, like, insta-love. And both of these characters, like, I'm just not really connecting with either of them as characters. And so in this story, we're following our protagonist. Her name is Tansy, and her family, they own this bookstore. And so her family keeps asking her about her love life. Like, they keep being annoying and asking her, like, oh, who are you dating? What's going on? And she literally sees this girl on the cover of a book. Like, she's a book cover model human. And she says, oh, Gemma, like this girl Gemma, that's my girlfriend. And she has been saying for months now that this girl Gemma is her girlfriend. And so her family's just like, oh yeah, she's dating this girl Gemma. Like, it's a story that they fully believe. And she thinks there's no harm in doing this because she's like, we're never actually gonna cross paths, right? Well, that's where she's wrong. Because there's this like party or like gathering happening at the beginning of this book, and Tansy and her whole family, they are at this gathering when Gemma just like happens to walk into the room. And then the whole family's like, oh, Gemma, like that's your girlfriend. And she's like, what? She's like completely horrified because she never thought that she would actually meet this girl. And Gemma's character has recently found out that she is set up to inherit her family's like publishing. Like her family owns Van Dalen Publishing, and she is set to be like the latest heir after her grandfather passes away, but there is a condition. It says that she has to be married in order to inherit this, or else it will like go to her brother or something. So she needs to be married to someone. And so when she overhears the people at the party being like, oh my god, your girlfriend Tansy, she's like, oh yeah, my girlfriend. And she like totally immediately, she's like, yeah, we're gonna get married. And it's just cheesy and it's kind of insta love right away, and I just don't know if I'm about it.
The worst passport photo
What?
of all time. I think she caught me like almost in a blink. Yeah, she gave me the other one.
Rachel just got her passport photo done.
Look at this shit. Bro.
I mean, it's cute.
She did me dirty. Also, this is like the worst quality. Like, look at this contrast. Like, it's so grainy.
I'm feeling like I might actually DNF this for now. I'm just not really connecting with either of these characters so far, and it's feeling very like insta-love because this girl Tansy, she's just like immediately obsessed with her, and because she's like a book cover model, she's just like really beautiful and like very stunning, 10 out of 10. Just not vibing with this. We've been here at the post office because Rachel's been getting her passport today because we're gonna be going to Italy in October, if you haven't heard. And so Rachel needed to get her passport because she doesn't even have a freaking passport.
I mean, I did. It's just like really expired.
Yes.
Dude, she even laughed. She's like, is this an expired one? I was like, yeah. And she's like, was it minor? I was like, yeah, it was a minor. She like opened the picture. She was like, oh!
You were a small baby. Small
I think
baby.
it was like 10 in that picture.
So anyways, we are here in this little town that we don't get to visit very often, so we might go out and get food, get something to eat somewhere close by.
I know the next morning when the sun goes up, it might be the last day of you and me. You're lying next to me with heavy eyes while I shiver inside with a heavy heart. I know what I've done, and I'm too afraid to let it go. If I could, I would turn back time. If I could, I would take it all back. If I could, I would bring back all the memories, not yours, only in my dreams. Oh, if I nothing at all about what's going down.
This morning I ended up making a chai latte with a shot of espresso in it, and it turned out so freaking good. Like, I'm gonna have to make this at home more often. I always wanted to try a chai latte with espresso brewed into it, but I haven't until a few days ago, and now I've just been on this kick where like I need a chai latte with a shot of espresso in it all the time. It's so good. Anyways, I just wanted to update you because I have started reading On the Same Page by Haley Cass. I am literally already 128 pages into it. This book is massive, by the way. It's literally sitting here at 455 pages. Like, for what? So far, I am happy to let you know that I am just absolutely loving this. Like, I'm loving it so much. It's been a while since I've just read a romance book with my eyeballs, like without the help of the audiobook. And if you were wondering, I don't think there is an audiobook for this book currently. I actually looked on Libro just out of curiosity, and I think it said you could pre-order the audiobook that's coming out in March. So like at this moment in time, there is no audiobook for this if you were wondering. But this has been so cute so far, and like this is exactly the kind of shit that I like in romance. So in this story, we're following this protagonist named Riley, and what's really cool about Riley is that she works at Boston News. Like, she works for like a Boston news station, and then she has this best friend that's this girl named Gianna, and Gianna is like a super famous, well-known social media influencer. And this is a story about how they are best friends who maybe potentially could be something more. But what I'm liking about this story so much is that we're following these two girls in the present day, but we are also following them in the past as well. Because 10 years ago, they went to the same college in Boston and they were actually roommates, and that's how they ended up getting to know each other in the first place. So I really like that we get in between the chapters of the present day, we get the flashback chapters of when they first met when they were in college. I also really like the fact that in the present day chapters, we're following from Riley's perspective, whereas in the flashback chapters when they were in college, we're following from Gianna's perspective. I am just loving how much of a slow burn this book has been so far. I mean, I'm 128 pages in, and I'm only now getting to a scene that feels like things might be starting to change between them, and I love that. I am here for the slow burn. Like, if the book is long for a reason because it's a really good slow burn, then I don't mind the length of a book. I'm the type of romance reader that I don't even want these characters to even fucking look at each other romantically until at least 100 pages in. I just really like the way that this author is building these characters so far. I'm finding them to both be very interesting and very relatable in a lot of ways too. I mean, you know what's weird is the fact that Gianna, you know, she talks about how she's like an influencer in this book, which is, you know, kind of my job as well. And it's cute because she talks about how she has like several brands that she works with and advertises for, and she produces her own vlogs detailing other aspects of her life, like personal stories. And she's talking about how, you know, Gianna is essentially a one-woman business. And I was like, wow, like that's relatable to me. And then it said too that Riley had seen how she built it all up over the last 9 years. And I was like, dude, what? Like, how weird is this? Because my 9-year YouTube anniversary is in this month, in the month of February that I'm reading this. So I'm like, okay, that feels weirdly relatable that she's been doing social media for 9 years. I started putting in these little green tabs anytime she talks about social media in a way that I find to be really relatable as someone who does, you know, content creation for a full-time job. I also really like though that we're getting the flashback chapters of when they actually met in college, you know, because a lot of times when you're reading romance books like this where the characters have known each other for literally like 10 plus years, I always find that I'm like, well, I want to see like the early stages of the relationship or how they met and how they started to fall for each other and things like that. And I like that with this book, I'm definitely getting that. I'm definitely loving the flashback chapters to when they were in college, and I'm also loving the character development, you know, because one of them is definitely like mean girl energy when she was in college, and the other one definitely like puts her in check, and she's like, no bitch, you're fucking mean girl, like you better step down. And I just love the banter that they already had from such a young age. Like they were already giving me such cute energy in the college chapters. I honestly feel like these two girls are just like an old married couple and they don't even know. Like they're so obviously in love with each other and they don't even realize it. And the added thing that's interesting in this book is that Riley, our protagonist, she thinks that she's straight. I mean, as far as I'm aware, she only has gone on dates with men and she doesn't really even think she's romantically interested in women. Whereas, you know, the girl Gianna, she has dated men and women in the past. And so it kind of has that like gay for you trope where like potentially Riley is gonna realize that she might be into women because of Gianna, which is a trope that I just love. I'm an absolute sucker for that shit. When there's like one person that makes someone discover like, oh shit, I could be attracted to the same sex. Like I love it. It's one of my favorite tropes. So at about 130 pages in, this is going very well. This is almost like giving me 5-star energy, which is just what I needed right now. Like I really needed a romance that was gonna hit for me, and this feels like it's it so far. So anyways, it's about 2:30 in the afternoon. Tonight I actually do have dinner plans with my friends Josh and Katie. We're gonna be going out to Scotty Brown's, which is like one of our favorite local restaurants, and we're gonna be having a late little like birthday celebration for me and Rachel. And so that should be a really fun night tonight that I'm really looking forward to catching up with them because I haven't seen them in a little while. So until then, I think I'm either gonna be, you know, right here just laying in bed reading more of this book. I mean, I really do probably need to go out to the gym, but like the idea of putting this down right now does not sound appealing because I'm loving it so much.
Waking up in my bed, you're still stuck in my head. I'm not even hungover. I wanna call your phone, tell you what you did wrong.
Look at her hair!
Then ask you to come over.
So
Not very good with decisions, know what's right, but I don't listen. I don't. And I complain and dismiss it, then I keep on reminiscing. I know. Baby, you're bad. Baby, you're bad. Baby, you're bad. Baby, back again, crying on your shoulder. No, it's not good for me.
Okay, hello, it is the next morning. Last night was such a fun night. We went out to dinner with Josh and Katie and we got to catch up with them, and it was such a good night. We were at that restaurant for probably like 3 hours. And then this morning I decided to drive down to one of the local towns in my area because I wanted to check out their library, which you can see in the background here. And the library is so freaking beautiful in this town. There's something really cool about the county that I live in is that all of the local libraries are connected. So I can go to any of the libraries within my county, which is really cool because then my library card works at a number of libraries. So I was coming down here today because I actually wanted to check out their manga section because, you know, I'm still trying to collect manga to do that video a little bit later this month where I read 24 manga in 24 hours. So I just wanted to see like what they had here, and I was kind of surprised. Like the manga selection at this library is a lot smaller than the manga selection at my local library, which is kind of surprising. I mean, I did end up finding 2 things that I might be interested in, and this one is actually like a webtoon, I think, or it says it's based off of a webtoon, and then this one is the second volume in a series that I might be getting the first volume checked out of my library. So I just saw it there and I thought I might as well pick it up just in case I end up loving the first volume. Last night I did end up reading a little bit more of On the Same Page. I was so tired after we got home, so I wasn't reading as much as I thought I would, but I got 220 pages in. I finally read the first like steamy scene and I was like, oh my gosh, like the tension is just written so well. Like it's been a long time since I've been this invested in a romance book, and so I'm just having the time of my life. I have like a little over probably like 220 pages left. I'm probably just at the 50% mark right now. I think this afternoon it would be really nice to hit up one of the local coffee shops around here. They actually do have a Woods Coffee pretty close by, which is a coffee spot that I go to a lot in my local town, but I don't think I've ever been to the location that's in this town. I don't know, I think I might swing by, check out the vibes, see if I want to stick around. I might order a coffee and maybe get a scone or something because I'm kind of hungry even though I just ate already. But I think I'll try to read a little bit more of this in the coffee shop today. And then later tonight I am hosting late night reading sprints on my Patreon starting at 5 o'clock tonight. So if anything, I think I should be able to finish up this book on sprints tonight. But yeah, let's get to it. I'm really excited to dive back in because I'm loving this so much. Okay, hi, it is much later in the night. It's almost 9 o'clock. I'm still doing reading sprints with my Patreon right now. And earlier today, I was trying to go to that local Woods coffee spot in the town that I was in, but oh my gosh, the parking lot was so crowded that I couldn't even find a spot to park the car, let alone go to that place. So instead, I ended up going to one of my local little bakery cafe places, and I had a really nice afternoon. And just now on Patreon reading sprints, I finished reading On the Same Page, and like, oh my god, my fucking heart. Dude, this was so 5 stars. This was 5 stars. I think I can confidently say that this is my favorite female romance that I've ever fucking read. This book just made me feel all the full range of emotions. Like, it's been so long since I've passionately loved a romance book in this way. I just really felt a lot for both of these characters. Like, I just loved them so much as characters. I feel like they were so well fleshed out, and like the conflict in this book felt very real. Like, I don't know, it felt very realistic to me. It wasn't one of those like cheesy romance conflicts in my opinion. And the steamy scenes, like, they were just written in a way that I was actually invested and like interested in what was going on, which is not always the case for me. Like, I find some romance books I can just find myself skimming and just like not even really caring at all about the steamy scenes. But with this book, oh my gosh, it was so entertaining. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but this book kind of gave me the same feeling that I get when I'm like reading fan fiction or something. I don't even know how to explain what I mean by that, but you know how sometimes fan fiction can just be so addicting, like the way that you just want to stay up all night reading it until like late into the night? That's kind of how I felt about this book. Like, it was just so entertaining. Like, I mean, after 450 pages, it really just flew by within 2 days. face. Then I also loved Riley has a twin sister named Ellie, and her character was also just really sweet and really wholesome, and I really liked the story that was going on with her twin sister Ellie as well. I loved the way that the story would go back and forth between, you know, like their years when they were in college together and then in the present day. I just thought it was really great, and I was really rooting for them in both timelines, and I was like, oh my gosh, they literally read like one of those married couples who don't even know how much they're in love with each other, but like in the cutest way. It wasn't like an obnoxious like, oh my god, just get together already, but it was just in a way where like I couldn't wait until they like revealed their feelings to each other. It was just so freaking cute. So I loved this so much. I also heard, you know, this author apparently has a number of other books that I have not read. I mean, just in the front page here, there's a whole list of books that she's published in the past, so like you can guarantee I'm gonna be checking out these books because of how much I love this. Like, this was so unexpected, and I'm so glad that I spontaneously decided to pick up this book for this vlog. It just feels so good to finally read another romance that I can highly recommend. I'm finishing up my last sprint on Patreon right now, and I think tomorrow I'm gonna be starting on the breakup tour, so that's gonna be the next book that I'm reading for this video. Next afternoon, it's about 12:30 in the afternoon, and I've just been laying in bed all morning getting a start on the breakup tour, and I thought now would be a good time to update you because I just hit chapter 13, which puts me at about 132 pages in, and I joked about, you know, the 13 thing because this book is very, very inspired by Taylor Swift. I mean, I knew that this book was going to be inspired by Taylor Swift. I mean, the dedication for this book says, "To the Swifties and Miss Swift for inspiration evermore." So like the authors are totally acknowledging the fact that this story is very inspired by Taylor Swift. And in this story, we're following this character named Riley Wynn. You know what's really weird too is the last romance book that I just read, the main character's name was Riley. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fucking with my head. I'm gonna get these characters all mixed up. What are the chances I would read two romance books back to back with the name Riley for the main character? Anyways, so we're following this girl Riley, and she is like this really famous singer-songwriter. It's obviously like very inspired by Taylor Swift. Like, she has been well known for these breakup songs. She's really made a career for herself. She started in country music. Now she's doing more pop stuff. Like, it is very like on the nose inspired by Taylor Swift. They've used the word reputation. They've used fearless. They just used wildest dreams. In the last chapter, she just said, what a legacy. And I'm like, what a real fucking legacy. So this book is chock full of the Taylor Swift references, okay? You know, in a way, this book is kind of reading like Taylor Swift fan fiction. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just feeling kind of like about this, which is shocking, you know, because I am a huge Swiftie. I've been a Taylor Swift fan for like 15 years of my life, ever since I was a 13-year-old, and so you would think that I would be the target audience for this book, but I don't know, there's something about this that is just feeling so cringy to me. I mean, maybe it's because we're following this character Riley, and she's recently dealing with a divorce. She was married to this guy for like 5 months, and this man is like taking credit, or he's like saying that he's the inspiration behind these biggest hits that she's writing. So this girl Riley, she goes to this guy Max, who was like her college sweetheart, and she literally asks him if he can tell the public that the songs are actually about him and not about her ex-husband that she just got divorced with, which like first of all is just kind of weird. Like I don't see a pop star going up to like her random ex and being like, can you tell the world that it's actually about you? You definitely have to like suspend your disbelief for this book because I just don't see this happening. Like, in what world would this be happening? But he's kind of like, oh, I don't want to do that because I don't want the whole world to know that you wrote one of your biggest hits about me. Like, there's already enough attention on me. And so he says the only way that he'll agree to do it is if she allows him to join her band on tour. And so he's gonna be joining their band on tour, but like, dude, I don't know how I feel about this situation, you know? Because our boy Max, you know, it's been years, it's been so many years since they've been together, and like, he's literally engaged now. So like, he's in a committed relationship, and then she's like, oh, we're gonna be sharing a tour bus with my mom. And I mean, I know it's like her mom will be there, I guess, so it's like, it's not gonna be like romantic, but like, I don't know, something about it just feels a little bit uncomfy to me. I don't know if it's the way that these authors are writing this like Riley protagonist girl, but she's kind of like driving me nuts. She'll go back and forth between feeling like this like really confident, like, yeah, I'm Riley fucking Wynn, like I do what I want, I can sell out stadiums. Then I don't know, sometimes when she's around this guy Max, it's like she goes back to being this like quiet, awkward, insecure kind of like college girl relationship vibe. Like, I don't know. And a lot of the scenes, I feel like they're they're meant to be written in a way where you're like, oh wow, look at them, but it's just so cringy. Like, I can't explain why it's cringy, it just is. It almost just feels like they're trying too hard to make this like appealing to the Swifties, if that makes sense. I'm just gonna be sitting in bed reading this for probably a good chunk this afternoon. I don't know, I'll probably be able to finish it today because the audiobook reads so fast. I'll probably try to get up out of bed and go to the gym at some point this afternoon, and then later tonight, the Grammys are later tonight, and my girl, Miss Taylor Swift, Queen herself, is nominated in quite a few categories. So like, we'll see what happens. I'm definitely gonna be watching the Grammys tonight because Taylor Swift is confirmed to attend.
Small city thinking, I get why you left. Small-minded people sure know how to drink. I came to the party, I laughed at the jokes you made. I wish that I hadn't, 'cause now the joke's on me. I didn't come here just so I could watch you make a mess. I didn't come here to ugly cry in my favorite dress. So what the hell were you thinking then when you kissed your lips? Now I'm kinda glad you did, 'cause now you adore me. Go ahead now.
Okay, hi, it's much later in the afternoon. I just got done with the gym. I was on that treadmill for 50 minutes, which is like the longest that I've done on the treadmill in a long time. And while I was on the treadmill, I actually finished listening to the Breakup tour. Oh my god, no one is more disappointed than I am that I really didn't like this. I'm probably gonna give this book a 2 stars, but I feel like that's being generous, to be honest, because there wasn't much that I really liked about this one. It's so wild to me that this book is inspired by Taylor Swift, and yet I feel like these authors completely missed the point with like why Taylor Swift is as successful as she is. I mean, yeah, sure, Taylor's well known for her breakup songs, but I feel like they really missed the things that make her who she is, you know, because Riley's character, she just feels very one-dimensional and very like narcissistic, and it would drive me nuts the way that she was written when she's like on this tour and she's like, Riley has to change into another version of Riley for this different song, like kind of meaning she's like changing between her eras or something. Like, I don't know. I feel like these authors were inspired by like the Eras tour and then also like Daisy Jones and the Six. Like, the inspiration is just so obvious, but this read like a cringy, cheesy fanfic version of both of those things. And not to mention the fact that this book was just so freaking boring. Like, it was so boring. These characters had no fucking chemistry. It's like it was written in a way where they kept talking about how passionately they loved each other back in the day, and we would get like flashback chapters of them when they had met, but it was just so fucking boring. It also just drove me nuts, like the way that this book was written and the way it would like, I don't know, use music at like the most random times. Like, this is not a direct quote, but it would be like, she touches me like the way she touches her piano keys on stage, or like, I don't know, the way it would just bring up music at any given opportunity just because they're both musicians. I thought that was so cheesy. One quote that actually is a direct quote is when she says, when I explode, everything in me lighting up like the spotlights I love. Like, bitch, what the fuck? It was just cheesy. It was so cringe. Like, we don't have to talk about music when they're like literally having sex. Like, this is so weird. And I saw this girl Sam, I saw her review. I'll leave her review link down below, by the way, but I really agree with what she had to say, because she said it's one thing to say you're writing a Taylor Swift inspired book, but it's another thing to write an invasive, cheap copycat version of a real person's life in which you reduce this person to exactly the image the media has perpetuated for years that she's been fighting against, a girl who strategically and purposefully capitalizes on her relationship and breakups to make money. And she kind of talks about how she feels like this book was just targeting Swifties as like a marketing technique, which I really do agree with, because I do feel like these authors missed the point entirely on what makes Taylor Swift as great as she is. Like, I'm sorry, but this bitch Riley, like, she fucking wishes, dude. She fucking wishes she was Taylor Swift, okay? And I just couldn't vibe with this character. I didn't vibe with the romance. I didn't like the characters. There are a bunch of like song lyrics. Like, it includes 3 of the songs that I guess that Riley has written. And on the audiobook, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe they will actually like play the songs over the audiobook. And no, it's just like the girl reading the lyrics at the end of the book, and I was like, that's lame. I would have loved to hear the actual music, kind of like what Daisy Jones and the Six did. Like, I can't remember exactly, but I think Daisy Jones and the Six actually had music on the audiobook. Maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm just making shit up. I don't know. But like, what a missed opportunity. I'm so upset that I didn't like this, especially after reading such an amazing, iconic romance book that I'm obsessed with yesterday. Like, this one just dimmed so hard in comparison. But anyways, it's time to go back to the apartment and watch the Grammys. Yes, Miley. Yes! I'm fucking queen.
I'm telling you a secret that I've been keeping from you for the last 2 years.
What? What?
which is that my brand new album
Oh my god!
comes out April 19th. It's called The Tortured Poets Department.
What?
Stage. Thank you. I love
Oh my god! What do you mean? What?
to celebrate.
Are you fucking kidding me? Album of the year.
She just beat the record, dude.
I know, she just won.
She's the highest holding record, dude.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Taylor Swift making history once again. It has been a couple of days since I've last updated this vlog, but holy shit, dude, that night of the Grammys, like, that was crazy. Because not only did my girl, Taylor Swift, absolutely slay at that award show, I mean, she won Album of the Year. Like, that was so unexpected. Like, I really wasn't expecting her to win that category, and it was so amazing. But she also announced a new album coming out in April? What the heck? It has taken me a few days to process this information because I cannot believe it. She also dropped, like, the track list on her Instagram, and like, dude, we're getting a Post Malone and Taylor Swift collaboration. This is honestly a dream collaboration for me because Post Malone and Taylor were both in my top 5 artists of Spotify last year. I loved Post Malone's most recent album, so like the fact that we're getting a collab with them is literally what my dreams are made of. Like, this is crazy. I can't believe it. I'm also just so shocked by like the song titles on this album and like the Tortured Poets Department. I'm just so excited to hear what this album is gonna sound like. I'm like, is it gonna give Folklore, Evermore vibes? Or is it gonna be like a sister to Midnights or like a sister to 1989 or even Reputation with the black and white? Like, I don't even know. I am so excited now, literally counting down the days until April 19th. Like, holy shit. I was manifesting Rep Taylor's version, but honestly, this is even better because it's a new album. But anyways, I wanted to update you because I have started on The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. I just hit page 110, and so far, this is not going very well for me. I mean, I feel like this is something that I should have seen coming because there are a lot of tropes in this book that I just don't really love. But you know, I really wanted to give this book a chance because it's by Christina Forrest, who wrote The Neighbor Favor, which was a romance book that I read last year that I ended up really loving, and so I really wanted to give this one a shot. But at 110 pages in, I am just so bored, and I'm not feeling the chemistry between these characters at all. And so in this story, we're following these characters named Violet and then Xavier. We actually do get to see how they met 11 and a half years ago in the prologue of the book. The prologue is about 20 pages long, and we kind of get the story of like how they met when they were in high school. He was like the new boy in town, and he just walked up and introduced himself to her all like confident, and he's like, hey, I'm Xavier, I know what you're doing this Friday night. Basic teen romance shit that just makes me roll my eyes. I don't know, I didn't care for it. And then like in those first 20 pages in the prologue, we get an entire description of like their entire relationship in high school. Like, this was the night they had their first kiss, and then this was the night they first had sex, and then of course they both end up winning prom king and queen, and they just like rule their high school. And then chapter 1 starts after those first 20 pages, and now we're following them in the present day when it's, you know, 11 and a half years later. They're adults living their lives. She always had this dream of like working in the fashion industry, and currently in the present day she is working as a celebrity stylist, and she's kind of like made a big name for herself. But she's also currently going through a breakup with her ex-fiance, like this loser guy who was like a complete asshole to her, and so she's dealing with all of her shit. And meanwhile, he always had these dreams of like wanting to be in the NBA, like he wanted to be a basketball player, but because of an injury that he had when they were in college, I believe, he wasn't able to make those dreams come true. And so now he's actually a high school English teacher, and he coaches basketball on the side. And so they never thought they would see each other again, but then randomly one night they both end up in Las Vegas at the same time for different reasons. He's celebrating his birthday with his friends, and then she is there for like a work thing, and they run into each other at the club, and they're like, holy shit, it's been 11 and a half years, that's crazy. And then after one night together, they accidentally get married in Vegas. And none of this is a spoiler, by the way. All of this is mentioned in the synopsis of the book. And I mean, if you couldn't tell from the cover, like this is definitely like an accidental marriage in Vegas kind of vibe. I'm not exactly feeling the chemistry between these two because I feel like so far the writing is doing a lot of like telling us instead of like showing us, because it's like, oh my god, she loved him so passionately and they were just amazing and she'll never get over him, but it's like we don't know why really. I'm like, why? One thing I do like though is that the protagonist, her name is Violet Green, which I just think that's like a really cute name. I love it. And then her sisters are named Lily and Iris, which I love names like that when all of the sisters' names kind of match in that way. Violet, Lily, and Iris, they're all named after flowers. Like, how cute is that? So I do like the sister relationships that that are happening in this book. I almost feel like Christina Forrest might be trying to pull a, you know, Talia Hibbert with like the Brown sisters trilogy, because I think I saw something on the back that said the next romance is going to be from the sisters Iris perspective. So I think she's trying to set up a series with like these three sisters. So I don't mind that idea because I do like the relationship that this character has with her sisters, and I'm all for, you know, reading the romances of the siblings. You know, I actually think Iris kind of has an interesting story happening on the side in this book so far. But with these characters in particular, Violet and Xavier, I don't know, they're kind of cringy to me so far. I just don't really see the chemistry between them. And like every time they've been talking to each other so far, it just feels so like surface level and basic. Like I need more depth to these conversations, you know? So anyways, that's how I'm feeling about it for now. I actually just drove out and left the apartment because I really wanted a scone. Like I'm literally just gonna go to my local coffee shop because I desperately want a scone. I was going to try and make this like blueberry pastry thing that I wanted to do earlier today, but I realized I looked at the recipe wrong and I did not get nearly enough stuff that I need to make it. And so instead, I think I'm gonna hold off and try to make that later this weekend. But right now, to satisfy my craving for like a pastry, I need to go to my local coffee shop. So that's what we're gonna do. And then I think I am gonna try and finish this one up today. I mean, it's reading super quick. Like I was able to read those 110 pages in like a little over an hour.
Goodbyes, but we won't go home just yet. You've got your head down, just like when we first met. I can't believe it's ending. Why did we fuck it up? So stupid and upsetting. How can I give you up? We've said our goodbyes, but we won't go home just yet. Let's stay here in this moment, pretend that we're not broken, and kiss me like you used to do before it all went down. 'Cause when the moon is falling, our love will turn to nothing. So
Hey, hi, it is much later in the night, but I wanted to update you because I just finished reading The Partner Plot. And I will admit that this book definitely got better for me in the second half of the book because there were some tropes that ended up happening a little bit later on in the story that I really do like. And also, I feel like these characters started to grow on me over time, especially, I don't know, I just really connected with the male love interest in this book, Xavier, because I really connected with his story about how, like, you know, he always wanted to be this NBA player and he never really got to achieve his dreams because of his injury, which is unlike, you know, Violet, because Violet in this story, she was able to go on and like live her dreams. And so because they had a difference in like how their lives ended up panning out, I thought it created some like interesting tension between them in a way, but I just also really grew to care about their characters as the story went on. However, I still think that this story was lacking a bit of angst. I guess I just prefer romances that have a little bit more angst to them, which is why I don't usually like the second chance romance trope or like high school sweethearts kind of thing, because I just feel like there's a lack of tension. Some of the writing in this book was definitely interesting though. Like I tabbed this one quote that I was like, why? Because she basically like compliments him and then it says, if he were a peacock, he would have puffed his chest up and spread his feathers. I don't know. I mean, I guess I wasn't as obsessed with the writing in this one as I was with the other Christina Forrest book that I read. I also think the ending of this book was just fine because even though this book is about 380 pages, I feel like the ending conflict of this book went on for a really long time, like almost to the point where I'm pretty sure the conflict was still happening in those last like 10 pages of the book, and I was like, what the heck? Like I feel like it all just got resolved very quickly. And even though it's 380 pages, I was like, I mean, okay, like we could have had some more pages after the conflict got resolved. I also just thought the epilogue was a little bit cheesy, you know, as they can be in some romances like this. But I would recommend this. Like I think if you do typically like you know, high school sweetheart kind of romance books or second chance romance books, like if that's a trope that you really enjoy in your romances, then I can definitely see you enjoying this one a little bit more than I did. This one definitely, you know, it takes time to get invested. I will say that. Like the first 100 pages were pretty slow and I thought it wasn't going to be my thing and I almost DNF'd it. But in the end, I definitely enjoyed the second half a lot more, but I think I'm still going to end up giving this one around 3 stars. It's not my perfect ideal romance, but I'm glad that I gave this one a shot. And so wow, that is a wrap on this romance vlog. If you would like to see the extended version of this vlog that I'm doing for my Patreon where I read Butcher and Blackbird, then I will have that linked down below. I'm so excited to read this one. I have no idea how I'm gonna feel about it, but I've just been hearing great things and I'm very intrigued. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me for this romance reading vlog. I'm so glad that I found a new all-time favorite with On the Same Page. Like it feels so good to have found a new favorite romance. Let me know your thoughts on any of these romance books if you've read them. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye!